So in my thesis, I looked at changing notions of what it meant to be a good representative in Ireland during the era of the American Revolution. Now, the idea of representative democracy has been with us for at least since the Roman Republic, but it actually has changed in a lot of interesting ways to what we know now. And in the 18th century, one really important part of it was that if you were a representative, it wasn't because you were actually in any sense representative of a typical member of your community. It was because you had a higher social standing or you had superior education, and that's what qualified you to be there. So really the only role of the voters in this system was to choose somebody who could exercise independent judgment, not really to choose somebody that they thought would do what they wanted, and once the person was in Parliament, they just kind of were left to themselves. But what happens during the American Revolution in Ireland is that there is a big sort of tension and debate between that sort of notion of representation and the idea of popular sovereignty, which is that the people are the ultimate source of authority within a community. And what you had is members of Parliament using this rhetoric of popular sovereignty because it was popular and because it was appealing to say, you know, we're doing these things because it's the people's will, the people want it. And then the people sort of perked up their ears and said, okay, well, we'll tell you what we want. And then they started being a lot more active and actually assembling in their districts and writing instructions to the representatives on how to vote on certain bills. And some representatives were willing to accept this and sort of accept the logical conclusion of their rhetoric, and others weren't. And so it was a huge debate. And it wasn't ever fully resolved. And even today, you can say we are a lot less elitist than they were. And we do think that, you know, we are a democracy, and our representatives should ultimately put in place legislation that is popular. But on the other hand, the overwhelming majority of members of Congress today are lawyers, which says something about who we think is fit for office and whether we think they are actually more qualified to judge what sorts of laws and what are beneficial, that they're more qualified to judge that than the people they represent are.